You built the whole product yourself. The nights, the weekends, the entire code base. And now you need to hire the second engineer. And somehow, that feels harder than writing every line of it did. I have been building software for over a decade, and I have started companies where I wrote the first 100,000 lines myself. Here is the thing nobody warns you about. The code is the easy part. Genuinely. You can learn a framework. You can debug at 2 in the morning. You can ship. That is a solved problem, at least inside your own head. Then the product starts working, users show up, and you realize you cannot be the only engineer anymore. So you start hiring. And that is where technical founders fall apart. Not on the architecture, on the people. Because building the product is a problem you control, and hiring is a problem that fights back. It says no. It ghosts you. It accepts a counteroffer the day before the start date. 6 reasons. Hiring your first engineers is harder than anything you ship to get here. Let's start with the one that catches every founder off guard. Let's start with the interview itself, because the interview is a liar. You sit someone down, you give them a leak code problem or a take-home, they perform, and you learn almost nothing about whether they can build your actual product. I have hired people who reversed a binary tree flawlessly and then could not ship a feature without hand-holding for 3 months. I have passed on people who fumbled the whiteboard and would have been brilliant. The interview measures. Interview skill. That is a real skill, but it is not the job. The job is ambiguity. The job is a half-written ticket, a flaky test, a customer breathing down your neck, and no senior engineer to ask because you are the senior engineer. None of that shows up in a 60-minute call. So you are making a 5-figure bet, sometimes 6, on a single performance. And the people who are best at the performance are often the people who interview the most, which is precisely not the signal you are looking for. The person who has done 30 interviews this year has a polished answer to every trick question. The person quietly shipping brilliant work at their current job has not rehearsed anything because they were too busy doing the actual work. Your process rewards the first one and misses the second, and you will not even notice it happening. Here is the next one, and it is brutal in a way that has nothing to do with your judgment. You are competing for the same engineers as companies that can pay them more in a year than your whole seed round can sustain across a team. A mid-level engineer at a big tech firm is on a package that would eat your runway alive. Google, Stripe, whoever. They are not just offering salary. They are offering liquid equity, a brand on the CV, and the safety of a name your candidate's parents have actually heard of. You are offering a logo nobody recognizes and options that might be worth something in 4 years if you do not die first. You cannot win that fight on money. You will lose it every single time. What you can offer is ownership, real scope, and the chance to build something instead of babysitting a config change to a button that ships to 1 billion people. But you have to know that is the only card you hold, and play it honestly. The moment you try to compete on salary, you have already lost because you are fighting on the one axis where a company worth $1 trillion will always beat you. Sell the thing they cannot buy. The work that matters, the mess that teaches you more in a year than 5 years of maintenance ever will. The third reason is the one everybody claims to care about, and almost nobody actually protects. Culture. And I do not mean ping pong tables and a value slide in the pitch deck. I mean the actual lived experience of working on your team. When you are 2 people, the culture is just the 2 of you. Every hire after that either reinforces it or dilutes it, and there is no in between. The problem is that culture is invisible until it breaks. You cannot put it on the careers page in a way that means anything, because everyone writes the same 3 words: collaborative, fast-paced, ownership. The candidate cannot see what it is really like, and honestly, neither can you, until they are 3 weeks in and you notice the whole team goes quiet when they start talking. One wrong personality in a team of 4 is not a culture problem. It becomes the culture. You built the product with taste. You have to hire with the same taste, and taste does not compress neatly into a job spec. Number 4, and this is the one that keeps founders awake once they have felt it: the cost of a wrong hire. When you write bad code, you refactor it. It is annoying. It takes an afternoon. It is fixable. When you hire the wrong person, the cost is enormous, and most of it is invisible. There is the salary you paid for months while it quietly was not working. There is the recruiter fee if you used one. There is the time you spent managing instead of building. There is the damage done to the two good people who watched you tolerate it and started refreshing their own CVs. And there is the opportunity cost of the great hire you never made, because that seat was already full. I have seen a single bad senior hire set a startup back 9 months. Not because they broke the code base, though sometimes they do. Because the founder could not bring themselves to admit it and fire fast enough. A wrong hire is not a bug. It is technical debt with feelings and a notice period. This next one is the real reason your job posting is not working. The best engineers are almost never on the job market. Think about it for a second. If someone is genuinely excellent, they are already employed, well paid, respected, and being quietly counter-offered every time they so much as update their LinkedIn headline. They are not refreshing a jobs board at midnight. So the pool of people actively applying is, by definition, skewed. It contains some brilliant people between things, of course, but it is not where the real depth sits. You post a role, you get 100 applications, and you convince yourself the answer is in that stack somewhere if you just filter hard enough. It usually is not. Which means hiring well is not a filtering problem. It is a sourcing problem. You have to go and find people who are not looking and give them a reason to have a conversation they were not planning to have. That is cold outreach. It is your network. It is engineers who worked with you before and would follow you again. It is slow. It is unglamorous. And it is nothing like writing code where the work comes to you. Here, you have to go to the work. And finally, the reason that is more psychological than practical, and the one nobody says out loud. You are hiring people to do the exact thing you are best at. Building the product was your thing. It is why you started. It is the part you are good at, the part you enjoy, the part that made you feel competent at 2 in the morning when everything else was uncertain. And now, the job is to hand that away, to let someone else write code you know full well you could write faster, to watch them solve it differently, sometimes worse, sometimes genuinely better, and to bite your tongue either way. That is hard, and it is not just ego. It is that hiring engineers means becoming a different kind of founder, less builder, more multiplier. The skill that got you here, shipping alone, is not the skill that carries you forward. And letting go of the one thing you were always sure of is harder than any deploy you have ever pushed. Most founders never fully make that switch. They keep one hand on the keyboard. They become the bottleneck they hired to remove. And they wonder why the team never quite takes off. The product needed you to build it. The company needs you to stop. So here's the takeaway. The reason hiring feels harder than building is that building rewarded everything you are good at, and hiring exposes everything you are not. The code obeys you. People do not. You cannot outbid the market. You cannot fake the culture. You cannot fully trust the interview. And you cannot afford to get it wrong. But the founders who make it are not the best engineers in the room. They are the ones who took hiring as seriously as they took the architecture, who sourced patiently, hired for taste, and moved fast when it was wrong. Your product got you to the starting line. Your first 3 hires decide whether you actually finish. So treat that with the same respect you gave the code base. Honestly, give it more. If this hit home, if hiring is the part quietly keeping you up at night, the subscribe button is right there. And send this to the co-founder who still thinks the hard part was ever the code.